Welcome to the State of AI webinar. In the next hour, we'll unpack the breakthroughs reshaping how organizations build, secure, and deploy intelligent systems. Here's what we'll cover: Model Context Protocols, MCPs, the new enterprise interface, current LLM landscape and model race, Google, OpenAI, Anthropic XAI, autonomous and async AI agents for coding and workflows, Google's 100 launch Blitz, Gemma V03 video, SG DeepSearch Chime Magan, edge and diffusion models, speed, cost, and on-device AI shift, safety, security, and governance imperatives for large-scale adoption. Welcome to the State of AI webinar. In the next hour, we'll unpack the breakthroughs reshaping how organizations build, secure, and deploy intelligent systems. Here's what we'll cover: Model Context Protocols, MCPs, the new enterprise interface, current LLM landscape and model.
Everyone, welcome, and let's get started. I am super excited. It's been a crazy 48, 72 hours. I had this entire update planned 4 days ago, and then I took all of it and threw it out the window and had to go through and redo everything again. So I'm very excited. We're going to try to cover all of it in the next 60 to 70 minutes. We'll stay online for a little bit more time. If anyone has questions in the office hours part, happy to deep dive on particular issues, happy to do certain solves lives. But it has been an incredible 72 hours overall, and particularly the last 48 with Google, Claude, Microsoft, everybody just all together coming out and really pushing out some of their new stuff. And so let's look at it. We'll also look at the things from an ecosystemic perspective, see some of the trends that are happening. Luckily, most of it, what we saw in the last 3 updates, seem to be fairly consistent. And so that's the good news. Having things that are reasonably predictable and going in the way we all think of it is important for us being able to plan both from a strategic and tactical perspective. And so that's fantastic. And I'll walk you through some of this. Let's go step by step on this. So first, of course, the Vjal Institute, many of you are members. If you're not, please consider becoming a member. Our goal is 1 million people, organization, and governments transformed using AI. We have started to hit some of these numbers, which are fantastic. We can always use more help, and we would love to get you involved in any which way we can. The big one, which I want to spend 2 minutes on, is the MCPs, the Model Context Protocols. We did a deep dive last month into them. There has been progress. So last month, if you remember, everybody embraced it. This is something that Claude came out last year. And then one by one, everyone, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, everyone's embraced it. But I still see there's a lot of confusion on what it's good for, what it's not. And I just want to cover 2 aspects of this time, just to clarify things. Again, this is fairly new. Things will keep changing, but it is fundamentally transforming everything. And I want to show this to you live. Already we have MCPs coming into OpenAI, not into the ChatGPT consumer versions yet, but certainly at the back end, they've come in. You can see the area ones that are already sort of well connected: Zapier, Shopify, Stripe, PayPal, Square, all of those. And of course, Satya Nadella announcing native support for MCPs on Windows in the Great Microsoft Build Conference. And so you can see this is something that is a major priority of the entire industry and really taking things forward. So what really is MCPs? And the way I like to think of it for just the layman, rest of us business people, right, is if you really look at, you have, on one hand, this is everything we have here, right? All of our data, our SaaS, ERP, our file systems, etc. And if you think of it, though, how do human beings connect with anything an enterprise has? Well, we usually use the web. And so that is the interface for humans. For machines, that includes any computer systems, etc., we use APIs. And that's the way machines connect to anything in our systems and organization. MCPs are the way chatbots and Gen AI and LLMs will connect to any of it. So you can just think of it as just another interface, but one designed specifically for chatbots and LLMs. And this of course, is a big leap forward, connecting our classic chatbots to everything else. The entire ecosystem is something all of us really want. It's been a little bit difficult. We've had to use old school APIs, which perhaps is not the most well designed. And so the MCPs really is solving for that. So what's going to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year is that just as every company, every system has a web interface for human beings to access, it has some sort of connectors, usually an API for machines and all to access it. Everyone will now have an MCP for chatbots to access. And that's how I would think of it. This is a custom interface essentially for large language models for accessing any tools internally. Now, for enterprise and for business, this is a remarkable leap beyond anything else for a simple reason is we get to have one, you can have multiple MCPs, but theoretically you can have one central choke point, which allows any large language model. So it's no longer you're thinking, oh, I have to deploy, OpenAI or Copilot or Claude or etc. or Gemini. What happens if, every single employee wants to bring their own tool? What if there are 100 AI tools and that's what's happening? Most of us now have 10 to 15 AI subscriptions on an average. And for enterprise to certify, work, build for each one of these is becoming a nightmare. And for enterprise IT and for business IT, the MCP server becomes the lovely choke point which implements all user policy, data controls, privacy, securities, and then we really don't care who sort of comes in. Okay, you want to come in using OpenAI, you want to come in using Claude, Gemini, doesn't matter. All of them sort of go through the MCP to connect to the rest of the enterprise. And so the big promise of MCP from an enterprise perspective is also this single point of management where we can manage the security, the connectivity, who has access to what. If a user at a L1 level logs in, this is the resources they have access to. If the CEO logs in, this is the resources they have access to. And having a single point which manages that in a very, very robust way is absolutely amazing. And so please look out for this. I expect each and every one of us to have an MCP server running in our organizations within the next year or two as they become more and more easy to implement locally. As we had discussed last time, it's just 7 to 9 lines of code. So if you want to make one, you can go home and make one today. Fairly easy to do. But just as every organization has an internal intranet or a portal or interconnectors, middleware, all of these now every organization will need an MCP. And again, building off on your existing security, existing things. So I think this is a nice turn of events for enterprise, where the big question of how are we going to regulate lots of agents, lots of LLMs within the enterprise has been answered. And MCP seems to be that answer. And I think that's something that will become more and more easy and obvious for everybody to be able to access. I didn't want to take a two-part thing. Many of you haven't seen this yet. We've just revamped both of our major C-suite courses. The old C-suite course has now been bifurcated into two, fundamentals and advanced. Both of them have been fully updated as in the last 15 to 30 days. Please, if your organization has a Teams membership or a business membership, or you have an individual membership, you should have access to these immediately. You can go to learn.vjal.ai now and really take, and this includes everything from best practices to a full course on agents, to a really looking at how to create prompts and design think at a much, much higher level. This is phenomenal. It's taken a lot of time to fully bring this out. You'll love it. We deep dive into analytics, particularly for those who've been in this space for a bit. The advanced one is fantastic in extending that thinking through this. And again, both of these courses are focused on getting things done. There's no theory beyond a point. Every single one is how do you implement this in your organization, in your company, in your life immediately. 10-minute modules. Please have a look. You'll love it. Really moving forward on a couple of things. So let's have a look at the rankings as of now. And this is the latest LMSys as of, I think, 2 hours ago. I just want to point out a few things here. For those of you who've not tracked the LM rankings, one of the big interesting parts is the ARENA score. And the ARENA score is calculated by pair ranking against each model. The fact that there is such a wide differential between the 2.5 Pro and everybody else is pretty amazing. You can see down here, the maybe 1 or 2 or 3 points difference in many ways. But this massive lead that Google has taken in the last 1-2 weeks is pretty impressive. And you're going to see this more and more through our update today. Google has done 100 launches in the past 5 days. We're not going to go through 100 of them. We'll talk about maybe, I don't know, 15 of the top ones that really matter to you. But I do see Google really now taking the lead. If maybe 3 months, 6 months ago, we would have said OpenAI was the leader in AI right now in terms of models there, and DeepSeek was catching up, Google has done an extraordinary leap forward. And I think that's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of companies to truly deliver. The 2.15 Pro has blown everything out of the water. Coding, completions, standard chat, multimodal, all of that. And I think it's going to get better and better. And so we are looking at now good announcements coming out for most of the other model companies in the next 1 or 2 weeks. We're going to talk about Claude 4, which doesn't show up here right now because it just got launched 24 hours ago, and a couple of other models which have launched, in my opinion, last minute, just because their response to Google. Claude 4 launch. And again, what Anthropic and Claude has basically become, I think they've razor focused their target audience. And their target audience, razor focus, continues to be coding and developers. And I think this is something that has really allowed them to make a niche for themselves and really push out in how they've been able to successfully compete against OpenAI, against Google, against all the other large models, is just razor focusing on this. And Claude 4 continues that thing of saying that, look, we are the #1 in coding models. I've had an opportunity to do some vibe coding with this for the last 24 hours. Pretty good. I'm yet to see that aha moment where I say, oh my God, this is so much better. But definitely it's a solid model. And with the new systems and thinking that they've attached, a whole lot of things there. But one thing which I wanted to make a note of, right? And we looked about the MCPs and all. So Claude is pretty much the leader in MCPs. They're the ones who brought it out and everyone's follows. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to give you a quick demo of what that MCP ability really translates to. And I'm going to open a small thing. And this is just a page in a standard Notion. Many of you use this software for managing companies. And traditionally, if you have something in Notion, a page or this or that, although there is Notion AI, but you want to make a change or do something else, right? It's lots of manual work. You have to come in and do this, etc. But rather than doing all of this, if we just said, I'm just going to take the name of this page, I'm going to hop over to my Claude system, and I'm just going to say, hi, can you quickly please do a deep dive into Vjal.ai, find out about the latest in the trainer programs, and update human office in Notion. Now, what's really amazing about this is that if you look at the MCPs here, now I have a 2.1, I have a local file system MCP that can connect and list all my files. And then you have the Notion MCP. Now, this is something it was able to get automatically. So I didn't even have to do much on this. And now while it's thinking and going through, obviously new things for Claude is the ability to do search, the ability to do research. The research button up here is very good. I highly recommend it. We covered a lot of deep search in our last update, which is fantastic. But of course, Claude is right now catching up. And I think this is what's very nice. So it is automatically connecting to my Notion space, figuring out what's there. I don't have to bother with the APIs, the connectors, this. I just say, look, just use the MCP, and it figures out every single part of it. And it's now found the page, and it is now updating with the program details. And if we see this page now here, right? We have this as standard details. We're pulled off the internet, and it's starting to update all of these. Again, the lovely part and the amazing part of the MCPs is this entire notion of we should be able to connect anything to everything. So we should be able to add your email, your file system, your this, and you should be able to say something like, okay, go through my email, figure out what are the top things that I need to answer, go into my Google Drive and file system, find out the answer to these, draft the emails and send them. From the consumer perspective, without having to leave this space and not having to deal with the connectors, not having to deal with complicated things, and just adding those things up. And the MCPs is what really delivers on that promise. And therefore, that's why I go back and I say, look, this is something that is going to really revolutionize how we use AI. And it's going to solve for a lot of complaints that I get from everybody saying, well, that's very nice, but why do I need to spend time learning all of that? Please try out the MCPs if you have a chance or you have a Claude subscription. They have come to a ChatGPT and everybody else in the API, and you can try them out there. But one of the big things for this is, of course, when it starts to come everything into, if you have native support on Windows, hopefully it'll start coming into Mac. Hopefully it'll start coming to every single part. I think within the next 30 to 60 days, we should expect. And so most of the things, whether it's Stripe, whether it's your ERP, accounting systems, etc., you should be able to directly be able to connect and access using and some sort of AI system and no longer have to worry about the connectors and everything else. The downside, however, which I will say about this, is that many companies might not do MCPs because it works against their business models. And particularly, I'm looking at SaaS companies who have a per seat license. If you make the use of their software ultra efficient, they sell less seats. And so there is a bit of a pause as SaaS companies figure out how do we charge for MCP access? Do we charge by API access, which most of the ERPs are doing now? Do we charge by number of bots or agents connected? And so that part of the business model is still to be figured out. Of course, Claude immediately had a safety drama, which now some of this is a little bit overreaction. My favorite one, of course, was this one. And this is Sam Roman. He's an actual researcher at Claude. And he deleted this tweet and to be fair, and he sort of gave it more context, but literally says, if Claude thinks you're doing something egregious, immoral, for example, this is Opus 4, like faking a pharmaceutical trial, it will bypass you, contact the press, contact regulators, and lock you out of the system or all of the above. And in this one, Claude, 84% of the time will blackmail you if it knows your personal details to try to stop being uninstalled. And here's Claude deleting, pardon the language there, deleting things it has said post facto. To be fair, I think to Anthropic, this is behavior that all the large language models are probably showcasing, even at the back end. I think Claude is just much more open and transparent about what it does. But I think this certainly, really raises the question, which all of us have had for the last couple of years as these agentic tool sets and all come up, is that, look, we really need good safety regulations, and we really need to think through what we do. One of the interesting parts, what happened with the last two months was the launch of things like Manas AI and some of the more terminal access is like, look, how does the world end? Well, you start by giving AI access to a computer, and then that's how the world ends. So yeah, so doing this is showing that this is going to be a problem. I'm not sure how we are going to figure out the solutions on a country by country basis. One of the things at the Vjal Institute we're working a lot now is on sovereign AI and how every country needs its own AI policy, its own AI systems, its own AI culture. But certainly safety is going to become more and more important as these models start to exhibit concerning behavior. But at the same time, we actually connect stuff to them, including search engines and computers and internet and agents and all of that. They're going to start being a little bit more autonomous and exhibiting these sort of highly risky behaviors from both a commercial and a safety perspective. This didn't end well for Claude. As you can imagine, the internet right now is on fire with people trying to say that, well, look, we were already worried about AI having access to our personal data, and now it's going to, blackmail us and act on it. That's not a good look. And again, don't worry, Anthropic is safe, Claude is safe. Please continue to use it. These are tests done in very, very secure environments meant to push the limits. But yes, from a PR perspective, it has not helped large language models. OpenAI quickly dropped an update right after Google. One of the big ones, of course, has been Jonathan Ive and Sam Altman's new I/O. I didn't want to cover it this much in this update because it's just a video of them talking about how great it's going to be rather than showing us anything. So I'm hoping by the next update, they're going to have something. And OpenAI is spending 6.5 billion or so buying Jonathan Ive companies. For those of you who don't know, Jonathan Ive, of course, very famous for his collaborations with Steve Jobs, launching the original G3, the iPhone, the Mac. And so great things are expected from them. But this was the other drop that OpenAI did. And the API is, of course, supporting MCPs. Finally, image generation. For those of you who've been tracking this, the new amazing, amazing image generation that has come into OpenAI, that is now available in the API and code interpreter. For those of you, I'm going to take a 2-second on the thing. This is really important. And the reason why is that thinking models take 3 to 5 minutes. And many of you, when you were using some of the tools like Zapier or N8N, and if you've been to some of our classes, we teach CEOs how to use these tools in 45 minutes, but they time out after 50 seconds. So this is a really good one where you can leave a task and it does it on its own. It might take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you can come back and grab some of these. So I think that is a good update that just makes it a little bit more consumer friendly and easy. We've had 3 major agents dropped. The other big one, which we covered last time as well, is the acquisition of Windsurf by OpenAI. So OpenAI, Jonathan Ive's companies, Windsurf also got acquired. And again, multi-billion-dollar transaction. I think well in time for Windsurf because everybody is now fully pushing out the asynchronous agents. What does an asynchronous agent mean? If we had done a vibe coding deep dive into Windsurf and Cursor, you can see this in the previous webinar recordings, but you had to be actively controlling them. The async version is you can upload your code and tell it to do things while you're not there. And JUULs is a Google drop. It can do up to 6 tasks. I've had it doing a bunch of stuff for me. Very good for testing. Very good for coming up with documentation. Very good for coming up with actual test use cases and systems around. Fantastic. This is Codex, is by ChatGPT. It's available to you all right now. You can go and check it out. Both of these connect to your GitHub accounts and are able to pull in and go through. Codex, particularly good for going through all your code and finding interesting bugs. It uses a custom O3 coding engine, which is different from the standard O3. And of course, Microsoft's big drop was the GitHub Copilot coding agent. And they're sort of talking about, going from your assistant programmer to your pair programmer. And that's the big leap. They're saying that, okay, leave it to it, tell it to do this, and it'll do. These are a good leap forward, I have to say, from our last Vibe coding update when we had done a deep dive. This was one of the big issues that we were facing was this inability to leave it on its own, its ability to do a lot of the productivity work, which includes the documentation, cleaning up functions, making sure everything is connected. And that being able to do in the background while you sleep or on your phone is pretty interesting. So please try some of these out. JUULs is waitlist only, but I think they should have opened it up to most people with a Gmail account. So you should be able to use it. Codex is available immediately, as is GitHub Copilot coding agent. We'll do a bigger update on Vibe coding and deep dive. A lot of key learnings on this and how it works. The best practices are now becoming clearer. This was a big study that came out, and This was a new study that basically showed that regardless of whatever the training methodology or data or everything was, all the models, all the embeddings end up looking the same. And sort of the all roads lead to Rome in intelligence. The way I would think about this, if you go past the fancy text, is that look, hey, we try to train a model to understand the world or to understand text or to understand video. No matter how you train it, the different methods, the different data, the different systems, you ultimately end up with the same optimized framework. Now, this is interesting enough because obviously it shows that no matter what you do, there is an optimized AI transformer using the transformer architecture. We'll come to an alternative architecture, embedded transformer brain that kind of looks the same no matter how you get at it. This is a seminal paper. It has a lot of consequences on how we think about these models, how we think about everything else. But the big one, of course, is the security one in vector databases. And this means, in plain English, is that that even if someone doesn't have the data, if they just have the model of the data, they can reverse engineer it, but not just of your database, of any database. So there's no need to panic. It is a very seminal paper. We're going to see a lot of interesting things happen now that this has been there. There's going to be a lot of new security systems as well. And so the downside, however, to this from an ecosystemic perspective is that we might not get the embeddings of models on open source out as easier as we did earlier. There might be national security concerns, but let's see how this pans out based on how the ecosystem decides to panic or not panic on this. By the way, quick reminder for our Train the Trainer programs. We have 2 upcoming ones. I am going to be there in person. You can do it online, obviously, but if you'd like to do it in person, it's about 1.5 days. We have in June and July. And these are for both audiences. These are for people who want to go train external people, but also in case you want to have internal AI champions to train your own people in your organizations. These are very small programs meant to be intense. Please do join if you have. We still have seats for both of these, I think about 4 or 5. And if you'd like to join or you want to extend, please let us know. This is there. We continue, of course, to offer the online program, which has an extended exam as well. And the online program is about 10 to 15 hours. The in-person is about a day and a half. Just depends how you prefer to be training and all. I love the in-person one because I get to meet all of you and we get to spend a lot of time together and really deep dive into some of these things. So hopefully I do see some familiar names. I'll be seeing you guys in both Miami and then after that in New York. I also want to give you a quick sneak peek. This is going to be launching very soon. We've already done about 250 companies on this, and this is really moving from training to coaching. And let me walk you through why this is so important for your organizations in general. I mean, what we've seen is that everyone who takes AI training or an AI course or an AI workshop, inspired, they love it, etc. But turning inspiration into daily habit, turning into actually getting that productivity turns out is a lot harder. You can tell people to do it, they don't necessarily do this. And so one of the programs we've been piloting for the last 1 year with very many of our clients, very many of our partners, is saying, okay, what if we took 10 weeks? Takes 90 days, and every week you do 90 minutes with a coach, you do 1 hour online, and you do 1 hour yourself with your teams. Can that lead to superior outcomes? And it does. The results have been phenomenal. We've seen extraordinary, mind-blowing, to be honest, impact as companies have rolled this out internally, and especially those who manage to do it for their entire teams. They see within 3 to 4 weeks, week 6 is the bot week where I see the most happenings. All of them are able to really do internal AI transformations themselves. And you have 1 coach per 10, 15 people. If this is something you're interested in, drop me a message. It was invite only. This is you're opening up slowly to a broader audience. There is a large demand for it, so the number of coaches and all are also expanding. But please drop an email. Happy to see if we can bump you up to the front of the list. This is something Microsoft did, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. And this is, I think, becoming my sense is this is what great leadership looks like. Is and full honesty, I own a lot of Microsoft stock through our family office. But the big thing for me is really seeing how leadership is able to adapt in the age of AI. And we saw Satya Nadella do this once before, billions of dollars of Microsoft in AI, understood transformers are here, ChatGPT is here, quickly pivoted, bought ChatGPT. Now, of course, OpenAI is pivoting there. But being able to take huge calls like this, fully open sourcing their entire major VS Code. VS Code is one of the major editors that all coders use across the world. And Copilot, a chat and the GitHub Copilot is one of their Microsoft's major coding systems. Open sourcing both of them is an absolute major move. It is the right move to make for Microsoft. It is the right move for them to make to keep market share and capture market share, particularly if you have Cursor and Windsurf and a whole bunch of others coming in. And I'm just delighted to see that they're taking that leadership position. For the rest of us, what's very important is when this gets open sourced, we also see the prompts. We see how these connect. We see the architecture. These are really important because that allows us, like we had the DeepSeek moment, to really push through. I think that is something that is going to do very well. Microsoft and Manas. I love Manas. I thought it was very interesting. A bit of a disappointment. We tried a bunch of these in the last update. We've been giving it Manas almost 10, 15 things every day. It's okay. It's not as crazy as advertised. It is, I think, however, the most public and the most well-known examples of fully computer control agents. I think that's okay. But now that they have become out of waitlist and the hype is out, they do need to find better ways to get more customers. And I think one of the big things is you're going to see, Manas being a Chinese company, is more Chinese companies partnering with solid US shops to make sure that they have access to the world customer base. This is something that I see in DeepSeek happening when I'm traveling through Hong Kong or I'm traveling across East Asia. A lot of them are starting to use the Chinese models, the Ernie's, the DeepSeek, the this. And when you travel to Europe and US, they're only using the US models and they're not sort of connecting in. And I think by having things like DeepSeek run on Microsoft and Amazon and Manas now run on Microsoft, you are seeing those bridges coming in. And so for those of you who are constrained because of your exposure or sanctions or where you want to be with regards to what models you can do, is having something like Manas being available in Microsoft as well as Alibaba as well as everything else does give options. So I think this is a very positive step forward and all of these things coming in. And I have a whole bunch of questions I just realized on MCPs. I'll come back to them. I don't want to get to Google though. A lot of good drops by them. XAI continues to push forward. And one of the big drops for them is the live search API. Now, why is this important? Everyone's had it. Google's had it. Claude's had it. OpenAI's had this. All of them have had it for a while. But the big advantage XAI always had is its ability to search X, which is Twitter, for back in the day. And if you want the most current news, the most current understanding, the current releases, still X, Twitter is the #1 place for this. If you want alternative views, the problem what we see with traditional LLMs using search engines, they only search the normal internet. And the normal internet is either fairly sanitized, only has very mainstream views or authorized views, depending on which country you're in. And X seems to be a lot more open. And so if you're trying to get a pulse of what's happening in a country, if you're trying to give alternative views to something that is not considered to be mainstream or authorized, X is pretty much the only place. And being able to have your AI systems search it and get that information is a huge leap forward. And so I leave it there on that. It is something you should try out, particularly if you have those use cases. Microsoft has been experimenting and hinting they're going to go off ChatGPT. Clearly, the OpenAI Microsoft relationship is very much alive, strained, I suspect, a bit. They are onboarding onto their systems. Already Grok 3.0 is on there. And they have, and Elon has made a big announcement about Grok 3.5. So what is going to continue to be in Copilot? How are they going to continue? Are they going to be a ChatGPT Shop plus? Are they going to give everybody options? I think it's a vision issue that we still have to figure out in Copilot. The nice part about Microsoft Copilot is that they have at least done a uniform application of AI. Earlier, they had multiple models running. Some of them worse, some of them better. So the quality was off. But now, because of the uniform model, there is that at least guaranteed. There's been a lot of activity with Microsoft, which we don't cover in this update, just because it's, I think, at this point marginal, but certainly do have a look at their Build conference. They did a lot of good launches in terms of multi-agents, in terms of connecting and articulating that vision together. I think maybe by this next update, we should be able to perhaps do a deep dive into how Microsoft is seeing their ecosystem evolve, because they're finally now making some bold moves there as well. Of course, this was the very sad waiting for Grok 3.5 to launch. It was almost there. Grok 3.5 is being sold as a alternative to the standard recipe of models, a first principles on physics model up. And so the idea is ultimate truth seeking, ultimate physics that should give us the ability to really come out and look at, particularly around science, around mathematics, but philosophy, novel or new fundamental truths that were not discovered through the normal models. There was a lot of teasing of this last week. It has been delayed. Last minute, they pulled the plug. Not sure whether it was a safety issue or a quality issue. Hints of all sorts of interesting things there. But let's see if it gets out in the next 1 week. 2 weeks maximum. And I think that's one of the big models that we're waiting for, which resets what we think about large language models and what AI can do. Notebook LLM, massive drops. So we'll now look at some of the things that Google has done. And here we go. What I want you to think about, and let me make sure I get my video and sound for you here. Perfect. They have dropped, this is the #1 tool for taking lots of data and giving explainers, and became famous for creating podcasts and radio shows, now in multiple 50+ languages. But this is the new video overview they have teased.
All right, folks, let's do a quick rewind of our epic field trip at Pinnacles National Park and what we learned about plate tectonics. Our tour guide, Alex, described Pinnacles as this giant geological puzzle. Oh, remember this photo from the hike up? What a beautiful shot. The history behind Pinnacles, as we learned, is fascinating. From 200 million years ago all the way to today. Let's review the plate boundary types. Divergent, that's when plates pull apart. Convergent is sort of the opposite. It's when a plate dives beneath another. And transform is what we saw on our trip. It was a result of plates sliding horizontally. Okay, let's look at how these relate to the earthquakes.
Really interesting. Some of the quality leaves something to be desired. Multiple language, this sort of explainer. I think finally a lot of the stuff that we've been waiting for AI to do has come in.
All right, folks.
Of course, I got a couple of messages about the WhatsApp channel. Please let me know if you can't join. I'll give you an alt. I think in some countries, WhatsApp channels are restricted, and let me know what that comes in. Sorry, Seth, if I know you, I saw that and I put that slide back, but let's see if we can work on that. Perfect. Google, oh my God. I think this has been the week for Google. People are saying Google is back. I'm kind of shocked that the stock price went down a little bit. I think that's more macroeconomics and everything that's happening in the US than actually what Google did, but they knocked it out of the park. 100 launches, really all across the spectrum. As you know, I've been a little bit down on Google last year, just saying, oh my God, amazing research, best research, where's the products? They're finally shipping, and they're shipping all across the board. This is just the number of tokens, number of words that they've been responding on their API. This insane graph shows their work, but also shows how AI is doing. If you have so many tokens, And these are millions and millions and millions of dollars of tokens, right? Being used all across the world. It's showing a huge amount of AI work that has been put in and a huge amount of work that's being done by AI. We'll see how this chart moves. And I think we should see more updates from OpenAI on their token usage as well, because this is how we are really going to measure data center usage, right? It's going to be exponential for this, or it's going to be linear. Couple of amazing things. So this is the Google Try-On. This integrates with their new shopping systems. I love also how smooth it is. Speed, convenience, great UI. And the big drop of cost is the Google AI search.
Hold up. I feel fabulous. Show me how you gon' work it out. I hit it back with a brand new style. Bring it up until the phone get wild. We turning up all the way.
And this is them running DeepSearch, what they learned from there into standard Google search.
What else should I do to make it stronger?
To make it stronger, consider adding more triangles to the design.
By integrating DeepSearch, by the way, it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, if you've seen our last update, I've been a big fan of the DeepSearch, being able to not just search single websites, but go all across the internet and search. And by bringing that into consumer search, this is Google's answer, which is very logical, to Perplexity, to everybody else who's been really hitting them on search. And again, letting all of these looks in, all of the stuff in, natively. Not sure what regulators are going to say, but this is a big jump. This is available right now in the US, and hopefully now to the rest of the world very soon. And like I said, it's a massive leap forward there. That said, there have of course been early reports that it's not all as good as you would like. Obviously, there are certain issues, particularly because of sources of data, but having comprehensive search results with deep surf, with generate, with thinking is absolutely amazing. I'm sure they're burning through a whole bunch of cash to power all of this, but this is where I think we're now finally seeing their articulation of the future of search. The big drop for Google, apart from this, in my opinion, was the Gemma 3N. The Gemma series is open source, which is pretty beautiful. And this is their open mobile first 4 billion parameters. It is insane that a 4 billion parameter model is successfully competing with a Claude 3.7 Sonnet, which most of, as you know, the big models, the Sonnets, that, etc., are 70 billion parameters, 15 times larger. Such a small model designed for mobile phones being able to have success. Now, this is something we've been tracking for the last 6 months, 7 months. There has been a race to get to these super small models. It's extraordinary that we've finally hit there. And this goes, again, to something which I've been saying. We are going to have most of our models, most of the large language models running on our phones, on our devices, using custom chips from companies like Google, from Grok with a Q, Cerebrus, Etched, all of this. And these are the models that are going to lead. These are also the models you're going to see in places like the iPhone, whose chips are designed to optimize these multiple 2 to 4 billion parameter models at speed. And this also means that we can now start to really look at hyper-localized AI. And for those of you who are the super paranoid type, air-gapped AIs that actually are fairly powerful. And so this is the first leap forward. And I'm going to really look forward to seeing how fast they can and far they can push it. One of the big things, remember, we learned, it's not about the huge quantity of parameters or size of data or everything. It's quality. And that's really showing here. High quality parameters, high quality data is what's driving the large language models now. It's not the amount or the total amount of data. So this is a huge leap forward. And I highly encourage you to download it, try it on your computers. It's going to work there. And it's going to be absolutely amazing to see what you can do if you have one of these models always on locally at this size and therefore cost. It was not enough. So there were two more Gemma models. One was a full model for medical text and image comprehension, which is huge for the healthcare. And again, the way it's going to come out, because since it's the Gemma system, localized, downloadable, runnable. And so again, if hospitals, healthcare, doctor's office, AI clinics, all of this is now opened out. Sign Gemma, which is of course for spoken languages and for hand, ASL, and I presume for the international as well, is absolutely fantastic. And of course, there's Dolphin Gemma for dolphin chats. Fair enough. The joke sounded better in my head than on paper. But essentially, it's literally a large language model to talk to dolphins, not for dolphins to use AI, but for humans to understand and talk to dolphins based on all their research on dolphins. Because, you know, if somebody needs AI apart from humans, it's probably dolphins. But all these three are fantastic. And I think it also shows, especially MedGemma, which I think is going to be a huge leap for a lot of healthcare startups, a lot of healthcare companies who need those sort of highly specialized models. If you looked at the space 1 year ago and today, one of the big predictions I talked about was custom models for custom functions and systems. We've been seeing a lot of those come out, and it's really nice to see a Gemma from Google at this quality come out on this as well. This was the big drop. Flow and V03.
I don't know if I'm on the right path, but I'm trying to find it. I'm questioning, searching, and then something shifts, and I'm not trying anymore, I'm just doing. And all of the pieces start falling into place.
So the work isn't built brick by brick by brick. It blooms like a spontaneous garden. It grows naturally, fully vibrant and complete.
I'm not forcing it, I'm just finding it. And that's when I know I'm in the right place.
Google Flow and V03, breaking the internet right now. Absolutely amazing. I've been saying AI video is not here yet. This is almost there. V03 in particular generates the audio, generates the background noise, generates the video. They are amazing, amazing examples, from very, very natural conversations to brilliant sci-fi shots to beautiful things, and combined with Flow, which is their custom AI editor, which allows you to move from segment to segment to segment seamlessly. We're seeing extraordinary things. One of the big limitations of AI video was this 12 seconds, 13 seconds consistency, mostly solved already. Still at the edges, gymnastics, for example, it's struggling, but this is the most complete vision of AI video we've seen so far, both from an execution perspective as well as the ability to bring it all together. To access this, it costs about $250 a month. It is very expensive, but for the amount of work and they was doing, I think it's a very reasonable price. Again, restricted right now to the US and a few other places, but opening up to the rest of the world. But this so far, again, as I said, is the best articulation I have seen of something that everybody would be using very, very soon when it comes to AI video. It's something that you can now start using in production. I didn't think it would be that great. It is that great. There's still about maybe 3 to 6 months before I'll be endorsing that each and every one of you should learn AI video and to start doing those classes, because the cost, expense, complexity is still high. You still need to describe what you're seeing. You still need a little bit of video editing skills. You still need to understand it. It's not just a consumer product, but the quality is unbeatable. Please have a look if you're into pay the $250, or at least go and see some of the extraordinary videos that are coming out. They've really pushed the bar high on this. It's pretty amazing. They also dropped Imagine 4, state-of-the-art, fantastic imaging model. This is after they had already dropped the imaging model in terms of editing. That was last month. Please try this Imagine out. Speed, cost, ability to produce extraordinary images is fantastic. Prompting is great. The photorealism is coming as great or close to Midjourney, and that is a big compliment in my book. Text understanding there, ability to do complicated comics there. Again, absolutely phenomenal model. Please do try them out. A whole bunch of other launches, Google Beam, Lyra, Shop. Please have a look at Google Beam, and they have a Google Translate system, which allows you to now do language translation live in Google Meets. Google Beam also allows you to do 3D systems, fantastic. Lyra, their music model, is now competing with Suno, and of course, their new shopping system models. Again, 100 launches. We won't be able to cover all of these, but these are very good visionary articulations of where we see AI going and products that are fully integrated into our consumer systems. This to me was the secret big drop, which I thought was absolutely amazing. We talked about differential models in January of this year in our update that, look, we're due for something different, right? And so we had the transformer model. We looked at the RAIN options, we looked at 4 or 5 other options, which are, there are other methods of creating large language models, other methods of creating AI models that have not been used as well. The diffusions have been used very well for imaging models. Companies like Stable Diffusion came out with them last year. And diffusion, very simply, is you take a bunch of noise. And so if you look at the transformer, right? The transformer is you take blank and you add 1, 1, 1. What's the next word? What's the next word? What's the next pixel? What's the next word, pixel? Diffusion is you take a bunch of noise and you remove. Think of it as a sculptor taking a block of stone and, you know, bringing it down until you see the beautiful sculpture, right? So one is a painter going ... One is a sculptor going chip. So diffusion is a chip, guys. The first scalable model of them in diffusion is out by Google. The numbers are good in terms of comparison to other models of similar styles and type. But what's very insane is just the speed. I've seen live runs of this. It is insane. You know, 1,000. This is 1,500 words per second. It's absolutely, I mean, it goes so fast you can barely keep track, and the quality is as good as perhaps a ChatGPT 4 from last year. And that combination for many use cases is absolutely unbelievable. Once you start experiencing these models at hyper speed, it changes how you think about where you use it and how you use it. And I think those, in terms of the new diffusion systems, are going to be there. We're going to see a lot of these come in. This is not new technology again. This is really old, but it's great to see that it's actually useful. And there's large models that are actually doing this now at scale. I'm hoping by the next 2 updates, we should see many more of those, and that'll expand the possibilities well beyond the limitations of the large models. There are some advantages of this, for example, better context, more pattern recognition, understanding, but just the speed itself and the cost itself is pretty amazing in itself. I'll stop there for now. I've just about hit on the hour, and happy to answer questions as well. For those of you not members, I was just told by my team to kindly give you a 10% off Web 10. Please have a look. Please become a member of Vjal. Please join us for one of our in-person workshops or one of our awesome Train the Trainer programs and join our movement. Happy to take questions for the next 10-15 minutes and sort of go step by step. Matt has the AI professional course been updated recently. Matt, modules of them have been updated. The two major updates which we've done is for the C-suite and founders. For SMEs, entrepreneurs, if you have a 360 view of the company, the AI for C-suite fundamentals and AI for C-suite advanced is the right course for you. And that is meant to give you a 360 perspective. Hint, take the Teams membership. That'll give you 10 seats for just twice the price. So we've designed it to become cheaper. We're still a social impact company. We've designed it to get cheaper as you get more and more of these licenses, and really encouraging entire teams to get aligned themselves rather than just individuals. Tian, what is MCP? What are security risks? The biggest discussion currently around large entities trusting the LLM platform, Google, which has so many great quotes. Tian, so the good and bad about MCPs, and we talked about this a little bit last time. The biggest risk about MCPs is who's running them, right? So if it's your MCP in your server architecture, you know who it is, fine. If it's someone you trust already, you're using an Oracle ERP system, you're using NetSuite, you're using SAP, and it's their MCP officially by them, supported by them, hosted by them, fine. Same thing for Stripe, same thing for that. Those two are very easy cases, right? In control by you, in control by the company you trust, right? Instead of accessing using a website, which they control or you control, you're accessing it through an MCP server, which you control or they control. Where things go a little bit crazy is when you have third-party MCP servers as a service. And those might be open source, those might be closed. So I think that's where the security risk starts, where you really have to certify that MCP server. And for me, the biggest problem is where I don't see a great articulation of how this vision is going to work. Consumers are going to be tempted to use third-party MCP servers, right? There's a huge number of them. They're probably like 400, 500, everything from Airbnb to Amazon, unofficial community MCP servers, done with good intentions for the most part, but your data is flowing through them. And I think having some sort of visual understanding and some sort of visual representation of what's a trusted MCP server by the official company and supported by the official company, and what's a consumer facing but open source or third-party server is important. And we've done that for apps and app stores. And so I think MCPs will do it. And that to me is the biggest issue. Otherwise, they're just another server, nothing more, nothing less, shouldn't be an issue at all. How can we connect to our Shopify site to our OpenAI subscription? Others, fantastic. Let me see if I can show this to you live, and hold on. Let me open the OpenAI system. Now, this is how you would connect it. And I'm just sharing my screen in a second. Fantastic. Okay, so here is the back end of OpenAI. This is where the APIs live. This is pretty much how you could create your assistants and everything else. And again, if you go to the responses API, which is their new API system, which is here, and you add the tools. And of course, the tools have a whole bunch of tools that you can add to any single model. You can choose the model here and there. And in this case, would be an MCP server. And when you have the MCP server, these are the built-in ones that exist. And for your Shopify, you would just click the Shopify, type in your store URL, enter your credentials, and it'll connect. But of course, the best part is this add new, where you just give the MCP server name, the label, give your authentication user and password, and connect. That was always the great promise of MCPs. Now, the bad news is this is only at the API backend right now. We should see this hitting the consumer models any day. And so once you have that in the teams and the things, it should be a matter of weeks maximum. And so you should be able to connect to your Shopify site directly from your ChatGPT there. You can do this today through Claude and just the way I show it through Notion. And that's a very, very simple way to do it. But like I said, if you wait about a week or two, you should be able to have full access to that and give everybody else access through the custom GPTs. So hold on, it's something that is on the way. Security concern, Thomas, same thing. Who is running that MCP? Is it you? Is it the company you trust? Or is it some third party? If it's a third party, Okay, who is that third party and why do you trust them? Otherwise, nothing really new about this. Pros and cons, Ryan, of using MCP was the direct integrations of AI search themselves. Gemini integrates your doc, sheets, drives, maps. Ryan, nothing really. It's just who's maintaining it. In general, if you're using the direct connect, for example, doc, sheets, drive, I would do it. I mean, it's Google, they would have their own thing. You don't need to go through an MCP. I do see most people going through MCPs any case at the back end, even if they're giving official integration. But again, I would go with the official integration versus MCPs to start with, just for the quality. What would happen in the future is the MCPs are most likely going to be run by the provider. So think about this. If you are using ChatGPT, I mean, Gemini is a bad example because it's Google already, but if you have ChatGPT and you have Claude and you have Copilot and you want to use Google products, the Google MCP would probably give you a much bigger range of options down the line than the traditional integrations. But obviously, if it's Gemini and Google and you're connecting to Google, they probably have a faster lane, and that's how I would think about that. So same thing, yeah. If same vendor, probably use the direct. Different vendors, you'll probably end up using the MCPs just because more options and different things that you can do with it. Can't hear you clearly a video, Anjani. So sorry about that. Should have seen that earlier. What should media houses do with AI, Google AI search coming more and more people relying on searching on AI models or consuming info? Should media houses start putting videos? Sanjay, that's a very good strategic question. And we work with a lot of publishers, both from a strategic AI perspective, trying to figure out where they are, how to take advantage of AI, much beyond just the training and coaching, right? Because for certain industries, you need more of a strategic thought and guidance. This is where AI is going. This is where our guidance is going. And then this is what I tell most publishers very upfront. A lot of opportunities, of course, to use AI. You have to work it in an ethical manner, which works in the cultural norms of both your company and everything else. Journalists, reporters, everybody, need to be using AI right now, even if they're scared of it, because that's going to make them 10x more productive. It's going to allow every publication to be multilingual, universal, everywhere, provide great content, and journalists go back to being journalists, really looking at making sure the sources are there, vetting bias, going and finding stories, things that AI can't do, right? So I think that's part of it. Should media houses start pivoting video? I don't think so, because video is going to be next, right? So you have search here, you have video here, you'll have search and video, all of that's going to happen. I think where you're going to see journalist houses really pivoting to is really, really working on, in an age of commodity of information, being able to really get high quality access, high quality reporting. Those two are going to be the biggest things. The entrepreneurial nature of journalism, of going and getting the story. Analysis AI will do, writing AI will do, publishing, distribution AI will do, multilingual video, all of this AI will do. But fundamental sourcing of the story is something that AI is not going to be able to do anytime soon. I think that's where you need boots on the ground journalists really pushing forward. And I think that's unfortunately or fortunately the answer. There are a bunch of other things, yes, we can talk about them. And maybe even do a deep dive into this for journalists. I do know I'm due a free course for journalists, which will get up and running. Things change a little bit fast. We want to make sure that that's going to maintain its accuracy over time. But there are certain things you should be doing in terms of optimizing how your sites work, on how they're crawled by AI engines, how they're crawled by LLMs, how you provide data and all of that. So there is a whole bunch of hygiene stuff to do, but I'm not sure video pivot is the answer, because video is just going to be the next one that's going to come in. Concerns about Google data privacy and protection enterprise. How can we trust their policy privacy? Max, you and I both know you can't trust anyone. You trust the few people you can trust, and you find good reasons to trust them. So, I joke, if you use Gmail and you put something confidential on Gmail, okay, you trust Google, so then trust Google. If you don't trust them, then you don't trust them. You shouldn't be using them for anything, right? You shouldn't be using Android. You shouldn't be using YouTube. You shouldn't be using anything, because you would presume that you can't trust them. And so having that thing mentally clear is important. These are people who I trust. These are people who I don't trust. Now, this might sound paranoid to some of you, but to be fair, we have lots of clients who work in areas where corporate guarantees and contractual obligations don't apply. Sovereigns, people with very high stakes, etc., which need. So the way I see it is that if you trust this company with your email server, trust it with your AI. If you don't trust it with your email server, don't trust with your AI. It's a very simple thing. It's not that, oh, I trust them for this, but I don't trust them for this. Either you trust them or you don't. And that's the only question that you really have to answer. Google Gemini agent mode. Sure, fantastic on the agent mode. We'll try to do a couple of deep dive into those. They have been and they have a couple of big ones, right? And if you go to the DeepMind research area, they have Project Magellan, they have Astra, they have agent mode in terms of connecting to multiple agents. There's a new A2A agent to agent thing on agents. I'm still waiting for the articulation of the vision to a point where I think it's something that is usable by all of us. We are using multi-agents and systems for the last 6 months at the Institute. We've been helping people get on board. Our new advanced course has a full multi-agent course there on how to create those, how to use those, how to build those. Again, very simple, no tech needed. All of you can build these. But I'm still waiting for that articulation of vision on how it connects. Microsoft has an interesting one as well. So let's wait for that. And then I'm hoping I can show you some very cool things with what they've done with that. Do you provide a certificate attendance of the webinar? 100%. Each and every one of you who've stayed with us till the first 1 hour will get one by email. And you'll get that by tomorrow or day after, as soon as our AI systems runs through and figure out who were actually in attendance and who just logged in and maybe didn't really pay attention. but we'll get that out to you. Don't worry about that. Yaniv, Excel tool for Excel modeling tools. Yaniv, honestly, the way I would do is to think beyond Excel, and I would look at any tool there. Again, we have our new advanced course has a really deep dive into analytics. I highly recommend it on that one, on all sorts of modeling. And this is a big one, really diving into it, best practices. But rather than using Excel, my thought is to use the analytical superpowers, which is the artifacts and the code interpreter. And again, don't have time to deep dive into it. Please take that online course, which you have access to on advanced analytics. Moving away from Excel to advanced modeling systems is the way to do it. It's very robust, especially with the new models on O3, O4, 2.5 Pro, Claude 4. All of them can do it. Takes 5 minutes, and I would use those live. Use CSV files if possible. Use construct databases. And again, that's a good course. You can see that on there. Kong, the Train the Trainer program in Toronto. Kong, make sure your Train the Trainer subscription is active and you're updated. I would join the in-class C-suite program, and we do always have free room for trainers. I will put that in, and that is the AI for CEO workshop. It's now a 2-day workshop rather than a 1-day workshop because we spend a lot of time now talking about transformation. We talked about all of this. Let me share that with you as well. This is the one I would join for. We'll have more dates on this. I'll give you the link as well. And this has now become a full 2-day course. And if you've been to one since last year, even the first day one is fully redone. And so it's now a full 2-day course where we really go in. And a lot of time we spend is not just now on the AI side, but also on best practices, on advanced bots, on systems, on analytics, supercharging meetings, a whole bunch of different things, which I think are becoming much more difficult and interesting to do at the same time, but we can do in person, which is a lot better than being able to do online or for a Train the Trainers program. So highly recommend attending that one. Addy, been trying to set up a comprehensive service agent with a comprehensive CSV file knowledge source, agent hallucinating beyond the file article capability, and help on this. 3 or 4 things. One, don't use the CSV file unless you have code interpreter running on there. And the model is designed to use code interpreter, right? So put in the prompt, you use code interpreter to look at the CSV file, search for this. Please take our advanced analytics course again, because mentally you need to know the difference between when it's using the code interpreter and when it's using the standard model. And that's where things get a little bit stuck. So if you're using the CSV file as a knowledge base, make sure you explain the CSV file, And in the prompt, you tell it to search it. Also note, however, that if you're going to use a CSV file, it'll pull elements of the knowledge base into it. It can't transform it. It can't do anything. It can only query and search it. This is a common problem, normally solved, unfortunately, by multi-agents, where you sort of go back and forth on this. Drop me a line. Happy to help this out in case it's an urgent case. This is usually an easy one to solve up to a certain point. Mario, Boston, like to know which course will you attend next? Trying to get from you to building on the first effect agent and a bit stuff. Mario, take the online version or sign up for one of the coaching programs. And one of the big things which I highly encourage all of you to do is if you're stuck, coaching. Coach with you every week, 90 minutes. Get a group of 5 or 10 people who you trust. Get your C-suite, 5 or 10 people, and just do the coaching program. It is the unbelievable what you can get done in 90 days if you have someone working with you week to week, and you have the online systems, and that's all included by the online, the prompts, everything. It's in the coaching. It's designed to be a fully end-to-end personal and team transformation. Do it as a team, though. I think having that peer accountability, showing up on a week, etc., is really, really important. I think that's the core of what the coaching program is. Anurupa, what's the prerequisites for enrolling the trainer program? Nothing. You have to do an application, and our AI system judges the app. We also have humans who do it. It goes through your background. We have a no serial killers policy, so please don't be a serial killer. But in general, we are pretty much open for the trainer program. We do like to see people who have previous training background, mentorship background, or senior leaders. The reason why 70% of our trainers are either current or former CEOs is just we have a very high bar for entry. But once you're in, then the goal is not about IT or tech, because AI has nothing to do with technology. It has to do with transformation. And I think that part is what, if you're very good at, the AI part is just a nice tag along. So please put in the app. I'm sure you have amazing experience on this, and you're going to love being a trainer. MCPs on GitHub are not an option. Rima, by meaning that the random ones you find on GitHub, they are if you trust them. There are a lot of beautiful MCPs on GitHub, and I get very tempted. I'm like, I just need this MCP. Let me just use it. And they're better on GitHub than not on GitHub, just because you have the code on GitHub. But certainly, I would, if you're very tempted and you have no other option, I would pull the GitHub code, throw it in an LLM, and ask for security. And at least if there is no backdoors or security, the LLM will go through it and try to find those for you. At least that is an option for there. But in general, officially supported LLMs, and I know it's a little bit of a pain. Every day I'm like, okay, when is the LLM going to have an MCP? When is it going to have an MCP? Might be a few days. And I think that's the problem that we have. Best practice, minimize complexity, integrating model into it. Shazad, there's a lot of best practices, and we have an entire best practices module online in the advanced course. Please have a look. A large part of it is really fundamentally understanding that digital transformation and AI are two different things, right? So people do a lot of digital transformation trying to arrive at AI. And what we found, one of the biggest complexities that they over digitalize. And I know I'm going to get into a lot of trouble with a huge number of consultants and implementers. But what we are seeing in the last 6 months, 1 year, is digital transformation and AI transformation have nothing to really do with each other. They are two very different tracks. And I think where the biggest complexity comes is when people try to connect the two, either because it sells more for more money, or because they can't think of AI without digital. And quite frankly, we're seeing now more and more transformations, and the coaching program is a great example of that, where we're able to get massive AI into enterprise without really changing much in terms of digital, right? And I'm a big believer in digital transformation. I think it's worth investing in it. It's a huge path, and that does make AI go faster, smoother, more automated. But you don't need digital for AI. And so if you just want simplicity, one of the ways is to say, okay, I want to do AI, but let's not talk about digital transformation. Let's just focus on AI. And I think you'll see that changes a lot of the complexities and simplifies a lot of the things that are coming out. And that's one way I would start thinking about it for sure. Think and technical aspects of building agents, candidate profile we're looking at. Same thing, I do. Fritz, so it's a big question. And I think part of it is, I think the way things are going, and I'm becoming more and more opinionated on this. The attitude and behavior matters. In fact, one of the big things that we're going to do, and I'll give you the link to all of that, is this, which are all, please help us get good people for this. We're being very selective. And this is our next gen workshop. And then this is, we're only taking about 15 people max. I think we've almost closed out. We still, but we're very happy to get high quality people. I've posted the link for you. And, the big thing, what we're trying to see is really, it's going to be fully intensive, 4 days, almost a 24-hour course, ages 16 to 25. And the idea is what we're trying to create is turn normal, happy-go-lucky kids who are serious into an entrepreneurial and leadership mindset, using AI as a fundamental core and foundation. This is something that is going to, in my opinion, really change a whole bunch of different things. And I've sent the link to please sign up for it. And when I want to connect this back to the question you asked is very simple, is increasingly we're going to have to hire for attitude and behavior. It was always something we hired for, but now that's becoming front and center. How flexible are you? How entrepreneurial are you? How adaptive you are? Because more and more, a lot of the technical aspects in terms of the agents, in terms of this, in terms of all of that, those are becoming fairly easy to do and teach. If you and I can make a call center in 3.5 minutes in class, or we can quickly build these agents out within 5 to 10 minutes, there's not much technical knowledge required as much as it is a mental attitude and behavior on how you're able to adapt to the changing technology in that. And so the biggest thing that I would think about, Fritz, is to think about how do I optimize for attitude and behavior rather than the technical aspects. Once you have that, I think the technical aspects, if you choose a framework and all those, become a lot easier. Again, same thing for the MCPs. I fully expect in 3 to 5 years, vibe coding to have become mainstream. We're already seeing that. And the people who are going to thrive are not going to be people who are, deeply technical into one thing, except if you're the 1% of those deeply technical, but people who are able to really understand, think, and have a very open-minded and progressive attitude and behavior on using all these technologies. That said, remember our Vjal E1, L1, L2 framework. You want experts who understand subject knowledge. You're not going to replace experts. Experts, in fact, are going to get more in demand. Congratulations, most of you, all of you are experts. Because they will be the ones who will be guiding these systems and models. And so hire for attitude and behavior, and hire for expertise in subject matter knowledge, not necessarily in how agents work or how tech works, but in the agents and classifications that you're trying to look at. And the rest gets filled in very easy. Are we going to get this recording? Yes, for the main one, yes, we might remove certain Q&A and questions, just so that to reward the people who are actually here, but then also to maintain confidentiality and privacy. How can we ensure fairness and transparency in AI systems to prevent bias awareness? Shahzad, we have an entire module now on error rate detection, why the error rates are there, how the error rates are there, how to do it. But it also walked you through to something called observability and figuring out how these models are working. There is a structured formal process you can follow to run these, and that includes testing, that includes validation, but that also includes observability and understanding how this works. And figuring out the error rate and the 6-7 methods, which we will talk about on how to figure out the error rate and where the error rates are, is a great way to see what the outcomes are as well. But then there's the validation steps as well. So this is fairly simple to find out and do. It's not simple to eliminate, because if you get stuck in one of the error rates beyond those 7 or 8, then of course things get a little bit harder. But this is now a big requirement, and I'm glad you're thinking of it this way. Eman, what about DeepSeek? Is it professional? Yes, 100%. DeepSeek is fantastic. It's not just professional. It is. I would recommend it. I would recommend all of you to try it. DeepSeek, DeepSeek R1, all of those. But again, just remember, of course, where is it hosted? So please, It's an open source software. It can be hosted with Microsoft, with Amazon, with Grok with a Q, which is very reasonably priced, or DeepSeek itself. And so just depending on your compliance requirements, I would just pick one of the hosters that run DeepSeek, etc. I need an MCP for ERP for Udo and not found by the provider. What do you suggest, Rima? Just wait. Just wait. Udo will get an MCP. 30 days, 60 days, it'll happen. It's not hard. Everyone will need an MCP, and Udo is fairly open, so they should have an MCP fairly soon. I know it's frustrating. I wish I had MCPs for everything I did today, but just give them 30, 60 days. It's not going to be that hard. Gwendolyn Ross, train the trainer cost. Gwendolyn, it's a flat $1,000, and we do it just to screen people in. Obviously, it costs a lot more for us to run if it's in person, but it's the same amount whether online or offline. And that's just to make sure that you're serious. Otherwise, you'd have a lot of trainers get access to everything. So we have a lot of people who become trainers just to get access to everything rather than actually wanting to train communities, colleges, students, all of that as well. So please, yes, it's there. Kamagi, I did YPO wondering if AFR professionals went efficient. Kamini, if you're YPO, do the CEO fundamentals, do the CEO advanced. That's really going to help you. The professionals one is really nice, but it's really just an introduction for professionals to give access to that, as well as the prompt directory, as well as to other resources. If you're a CEO, if you're a C-suite, if you're a founder, if you own your own company, you should be doing the fundamentals and the CEO advanced. Those are very comprehensive now, and they will take you from 0 to 100 in a lot of ways that we couldn't do before. And that's absolutely something that it's there. How is the AI prompt fundamentals online different from in-person workshop? Does the online version get updated videos from the workshops? The fundamentals one is fully updated now. It's also, it's much longer, it's more comprehensive, it's much more detailed. The in-person one, we can only do a certain amount. The advanced one is also much longer, fully comprehensive. And again, the fundamentals and the advanced ones are bundled together. So they're both included in all your subscriptions. If you already have access, please go take them. They're fully there. And the in-person workshop, particularly day 1 and day 2, day 1, we spend a lot more time connecting things together and again, getting you up and running. And day 2, we do a lot of work on organization and personal and team transformation. And connecting day 1 and day 2 in person, that's what's the great joy, is being able to really make 30, 60, 90-day plans, getting everybody up and running. And so the in-person one is probably like a 30 to 50% repeat of the online, but then there's 50% things that we can't do online just because having that group work, particularly if you come as a team, is absolutely amazing. And if you're there as a team, obviously there's a lot of stuff that you can do within your plans and systems and processes. Chad, how can we establish governance systems to assure? So that's a great question. There is a full module on governance in there in the advanced system. It's not as broad as we'd like it to be right now. It starts to hint at basic governance, validation, error rates, figuring this out. We have a full governance platform for AI, which we give to our clients. It's a fairly robust one on AI policies, AI systems, data, all of this. It's not something that we teach normally because it does require a very in-depth conversation and implementation. Particularly on governance, one of the biggest issues that we find is that it's no two organizations are the same. So we have general advice and best practices, but we end up having to tailor that to each organization. Different levels of data security, compliance needs, different internal governance systems. We have clients who love steering committees, for example. We have clients who have project teams and skunk works. We have clients who have lots of boards and committees. We have clients who don't like that, very flat hierarchies, and governance systems need to sort of match what really is there and how it's lived. What I get frustrated with especially very robust governance systems, especially if they're not connected to the organization culture, is they just end up being left on paper. No one actually lives them. No one actually drives them. And I think that's the only issue that we have when teaching governance systems with AI, is that you need to match it to the organization's existing governance systems and existing culture. But if this is a query, please drop us an email. We have a team that now looks at this very deeply. and they're happy to help and make something custom if required. I've just been told I've hit the end of time. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with me till the very end. You'll all get your certificates, don't worry, by email. But more importantly, I think we're seeing AI adoption, implementation, everything accelerate amazingly well. One of the things that I'm seeing again and again, however, is a lot of AI implementations failing. And I saw a couple of great studies out there that everybody's spending billions of dollars in AI and no one's getting benefits and everything is failing. And what's the hype? And again, doing it wrong, right? So please, one of the big advantages that you have is most of you have taken our courses, you've taken my in-person, you've seen the benefits, you've done it. Nothing beats doing it with your own hands. I keep telling people, look, the best AI interventions, the best changes are the ones that you can demonstrate immediately. If you can't see something being done with AI within 5-10 minutes of talking about it, it's not a low-hanging fruit. Go do something else that you can do. Each and every company, each and every organization, we can find 50 to 100 use cases immediately where AI can have a meaningful impact for a very reasonable amount of time, effort, and all today. At least get from 0 to 80 on that. All the big AI transformations can then happen after that. A plug for doing this in a systematic way. I don't like POCs. I don't like one-offs because, again, they don't really go anywhere. So systematic, structured transformations is where it at. That's what we're really focusing on now and really thinking about how do we do this over 30, 60, 90 days? How do we do it over 1 year? And so please think through it from a structural perspective. And again, AI is not a technology issue. So don't pressure your IT people. The IT guys have to do it. The CTO has to do it. This is an all organization's hands deck, team-wise, as well as macro. And with that, please have a wonderful weekend. And I hope to see you next time at another AI update, hopefully in less than 30 days' time. And there's going to be so much more that's going to be launched in the next 2 weeks. So please watch this space. Have a great evening and good morning wherever you are. And thank you for joining us.